All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this session. It's an exciting session for all of us. It's a starting of the series of A to Z of US admission. And it is more special for me, because I have a very dear friend and a fellow advisor from India, Aastha Singh. She sits at the Education USA Delhi. She will be joining with us today to go through the university search process and tips and techniques, where I'll be talking about the requirements you need to follow for admission. Asta, why don't you say something for the students?
Yes, hello everybody. Good afternoon. I am so excited to be here. I was telling Mushfiq, if not in person, I haven't visited Bangladesh yet, but I am happy to be, interacting with all of you. Thank you so much for hosting us today, and I look forward to a great session. Mushfiq and I are, we're colleagues, but beyond that, we are friends, and we hope that this is a great session for both all of you. And we're very, very excited to interact with you. We are waiting for your questions. Okay, so let's get this started, Mushfiq.
Exactly. So Bangladeshi students, don't disappoint Asta. She's here with great expectation, and just a warning ahead. We'll be laughing a lot during the session, because that's what we do. Let's make it an interesting and interactive one, so that none of us are bored. So let us start the session with a PowerPoint. I'm gonna try to share the PowerPoint. All right. I hope you can see the PowerPoint here. So to start with, why the USA? There are so many countries you can go to actually to go for your higher study, right? You can go to Malaysia, you can go to China, you can go to United Kingdom, you can go to Australia, you can go to European countries. By why the USA? It's very important, because by choosing USA or by deciding on your higher study destination is one of the major decisions you are taking or making for your life, right? So it has to be very carefully done, and you have to go through the reasons that why you're choosing USA over other countries. So the students who have been studying in the USA or come back, we have asked them that why you have chosen USA over other countries, right? And these are the main 5 reasons we got from the questionnaire, from the survey. To start with, it's the quality. It should be always the quality which comes first when you are deciding on as important as your higher study destination. So please, just Google top 20 institution in the whole world for last 4 or 5 years, and you will see that 15, 16, 17 continuously coming from the US, and the quality speaks itself, right? And beyond that, US's education is not only academic based, it's very much practical based, very much experience based, and that's how it makes it even more special. Second point is options or choice. If you go to United States, you will have hundred of majors to choose from, and you can even create your own major, and the institution will try to support you as much as possible. Third point, internationalization is one of my favorites, because when you go to the United States and in a classroom, imagine you are sitting in a classroom and you have your fellow classmates, friends from India, from China, from Malaysia, from South Africa, from Saudi Arabia, from all over the countries. And by the time you're getting your degree, you're not only making you're not only getting your degree, but you're making so many friends from so many parts of the world, and you're getting to know about them. Research, I know research is part of very integral process, part of masters and PhD student. However, nowadays we've been seeing that it's a growing interest for undergrad students as well. So I'm sure the students who are watching the session, you are also very interested for, many of you are very interested for research, and US will make this happen for you. career prospect, I believe we all study to have a secure career. At least I did. I'm sure most of the students do the same. So if you have a North American degree, you don't have to look back in your career again. In Bangladesh and in any country nowadays, it's a developing sector, and there are so many sectors like multinationals, private, public, private universities, then corporate sector, and they're all looking for graduates who have a foreign degree, and nevertheless, it's even more special if it's a US degree. So what is Education USA? Both me and Aastha, we are both representing Education USA. In Bangladesh, Education USA is a part of US Department of State, US Embassy Dhaka. It's everywhere actually. It's a part of US Department of State. We try to provide you with accurate, current, and comprehensive information, and we offer resources, guidance, and advice on how to find the best fit university. So as you can see, this best fit is within the inverted comma. Why? Because it's so important.
Can I just butt in, Mushfiq? I'm
Yes,
not
please.
able to see this particular slide of yours, Mushfiq.
It hasn't come.
No, we can see your whole presentation, but not this particular slide. If you can just scroll up and go full screen.
Okay. It is full screen in my side.
Yeah, just we're
Is it
waiting.
full screen now?
We can see the whole PowerPoint interface, but not like the full screen. But that's okay. And now we're on this slide. The what is Education USA?
So I believe it's been slow. Thank you so much for.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. You can carry on. It's not full screen, but we can see your screen. No
All right,
problem.
students, I'm sorry for the technical glitch, but it's happening these days so often. Now that we are so dependent on the technology, they show their, show their dramatic face anytime that it's possible. So let's carry on, right? So thank you so much, Aastha. So like I was saying, I was talking about best fit. So it's very important. It's a very important term and word, because that's where the students start with their whole process, selecting and shortlisting their institution, finding out their best fit institution. So this best fit is very important, because as early as you start doing your research, the probability of success will be more, right? And that's why best fit is so important. And that's where we think we advisors have a major role to play at the earlier stage, and we try to help you with resources, guidance, and advice on how to find the best fit. And this is the 5 steps of your study. Like India, like Bangladesh, we all follow these 5 steps. We start from research your option, which you are doing now, most probably, because other than that, you wouldn't be sitting here at this PowerPoint at this session, and it shows that you've already started doing your research. When you are advancing your research stage, it will come that how you'll finance your study, because you'll have to talk to your parents, you'll have to figure out a plan, because your study is expensive. However, there are ways to get your expenses down, and that's why you need to start working on it very earlier stage. After you've figured out how you're going to finance, it comes to the complete your application stage. By the time you know which of the institution you'll be applying in, by the time you know the requirements, you know the deadlines. So please follow that deadline, try to beat the deadlines, and complete your application. And till this 3rd stage, we'll be with you. We'll try to be with you as much as possible within our capabilities, right? After that, you need to apply for your student visa. When you have get confirmation from the US institution, you've got the I-20, which is the admission confirmation. You might have multiple I-20s, but you need to choose one, and you have to select one to go through the visa process. And at the visa stage, you have to fill up your DS-160, which is a visa application, very carefully. And finger crossed, if you get the visa, we hope that you get the visa. Next step is PDO, which is pre-departure orientation. So you have to prepare for departure. And we try to celebrate this pre-departure orientation by so many ways. I know India does a lot of series of PDO. They bring parents, they bring students. We do it every year. We've been doing it till 2019, where our ambassador will join, and it will be a huge celebration party. Unfortunately, for last 2 years, we've been doing it virtually. And we're happy that students are joining, and we've been able to give them some information. This is one of the most important slide, that what makes a good application. Yes, Aastha?
Yeah, just move. I'll keep telling you to move your slide. Move
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
next,
So
because it's not.
let me know
It's,
if I have the what makes a good application slide.
yeah, move it to that slide. It's not on that slide.
Right.
There's some sort of a lag, but that's all right. You can just move it to
Yeah.
the next one.
So I have moved. Maybe it will come slowly.
Okay. Okay.
So, Asta, why don't you try from your end when the slides are you are presenting? Maybe you try presenting from your side, so there might not be an issue. All right, let's try
Okay.
that way.
So
Okay. So
you want me to
let me
share
go
your
through this. Yeah, let me go through my slides. All right. Thank you
Okay.
so
All right.
much.
Go for it. Go for
Okay.
it.
So, what makes a good application? I'm sorry if you're not able to see the slides. At least you can hear, and these are the things which will make your application look good, and these are effective points you need to remember. The first point is application itself. So you need to remember that there are usually two recruiting sessions for US institution, fall and spring. Earlier, fall used to be the main session where US schools will recruit students. Most of the students, exception rates are high, scholarships are given. But just to let you know, for these last years, because of the pandemic, spring is as busy as fall. So those who missed the fall session, or those who are planning for the spring session, please go ahead, give it a chance. All right, fall usually starts around mid-August to September, so all the students are rushing to United States at the moment to catch their fall session. For the fall application, the application deadline starts from November of last year, earlier year. For example, say you're going to apply for the fall 2022, your application will start from this year's November, and if you're planning for early action, early decision, it might start even earlier, like mid-October, right? So the application deadline usually stays for December, January, February, March, but we don't encourage students to apply beyond that. So please be aware of the deadlines and try to, like I've mentioned earlier, try to beat the deadline. For spring, the usual application deadlines are June, July, August. So you can also go for spring. Next is transcript or academic records. So to be able to go and study bachelor's, you need to complete your 12 years of study. So for Bangla medium national curricular student, you need to complete your HSC. For English medium student, you need to finish your A levels. I know this point is very confusing because of these pandemic years, because there have been a different setup of results from different setup of institution. So I would say please reach out to the university you are planning to apply, and do ask them that what's going to work, what's not going to work. It's always an effective way to check that, right? And university reps are counseling. The admission people are very friendly, so they will try to accommodate your request. The third point is the language proficiency test, which come as TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo, PTE scores. TOEFL is the most common for US institution, since it is followed by American curricula. However, there are many institutions who are actually accepting IELTS, Duolingo, PTE scores. So that's why you need to do the research ahead, so that you know that whether these institutions are accepting IELTS or Duolingo or PT, whatever they're accepting, right? So check the requirements earlier and then decide on which one you want to sit for. There has to be a minimum score. Every school has a minimum score, and you need to follow that. Next one is aptitude test, which is ACT or ACT, SAT or ACT. So during this pandemic, many of the institutions are giving this test waiver as SAT and ACT. We do not encourage you to go for the language proficiency test waiver, even the institution is providing, because you need to be sure that you are strong enough to pass the language proficiency test, no matter the institution wants it or not. And if you're not passing it, you have to go there and do an English course anyway. If you do not have the English language proficiency test, you won't be able to go and start the bachelor straight away. So be mindful of that. For SAT and ACT, it can be an option for many schools, so it's up to you whether you want to do it or not. But SAT and ACT do help for scholarship. So please remember that. Next is personal essay, which is one of the main ingredients of that application package, and we tend to avoid. Just to let you know, we really give importance is this admission essay or personal essay, and we do a lot of workshops. We do essay checking and this and that. So please make sure that you start writing the essay ahead. Make several drafts, make it checked by your peers, your elder brothers, sisters, your parents, your teachers, and we are there to help you too. Next is recommendation letter. So if you have your school counselor, they will provide you a recommendation letter. If you do not have a school counselor, you can go to your teachers like science teachers, math teacher, English teacher, and you can ask for your recommendation letter. Next point is ECA, extracurricular activities. Just to let you know, we advisors as well sometimes give recommendation letter if that platform you are applying in allow EducationUSA advisors. But in that case, we have to know you well. We have to know you for a time being so that we can give you recommendation later. Next point is extracurricular activities known as ECA. US institution love students who have a balance in their life with ECA and study. So no matter what sort of things you do, you're passionate about, like Olympiads, workshops, volunteering, leadership programs, or you love doing robotics, graphic designing, cooking, singing, dancing, anything you do beside your study, please let your school know that you are passionate about it, and it will give you an edge in your application package. Last but not least is fees and financial record. We have mentioned earlier that your schools are expensive, but there are ways to get your expenses down. Full funding scholarship is very difficult and very rare in the USA for undergrad student. So please talk to your parents ahead so that you can plan a financial thing, and it should be done ahead, right? There are many scholarships, good amount of partial scholarships available by US schools. So you need to just do your research. When you apply, many schools have different form for financial aid or scholarships. You need to fill out that forms very carefully to be able to get scholarship. So these are the 8 points you need to remember. I've already gone past 20 minutes. Bangladeshi students hear me talk all the time. So I want to give Aastha as much as time possible. So Aastha, it's over to you now. And if you have questions, please write those in the chat box.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for setting us up, Mushfiq, and this great overview of the application process. I was able to share your screen to your 8 points, so I hope students have been able to have a look at that list. So students, Mushfiq gave you an overview of what it takes to actually apply to a US university, right? I'm going to be talking to you about getting into the first step, which was shortlisting. And if you remember, Mushfiq mentioned that it is a very, very important step. And the concept of good fit, best fit, right fit, these words you're going to come across very, very often. Okay, so let's begin with how do you simplify your college shortlist? Because this concept, this process can take some time. Okay, so I'm going to reiterate what Mushfiq said about why students choose the US, and from the point of view of shortlisting. Okay, so did you know there are 4,700 plus degree granting institutions in the US, and we work with accredited ones. So there are 4,700 accredited or recognized institutions. We at EducationUSA, oh my God. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, because my fan stopped working, so I thought the lights have gone. Okay.
No, go ahead.
It is a funny session today. Okay. All right. Go back to that. Right. So it is a lot of information. It's a lot of choice. And it gets a little crazy for students to choose between so many institutions. And the easiest way usually students that start with is rankings. While rankings are important, we also look at them at EducationUSA, but they should not define your entire shortlist because they don't give you the entire information. Okay, now rankings, it's good to say, okay, let me apply to top 50 schools, top 20 schools. That's great. But do dig in further, check more information about that school, and then you'll realize that what actually is a good fit for you or not. The best part about the US university experience is the fact that you get to choose different subjects. So I have had students who, one of my students was doing law, gender studies, and computer science, right? So I mean, when I was a student, we didn't have that much of choice. And whenever I send out students, I get a little bit of jealousy, because I feel that I also want to study, this subject. I wish I could do museum management, or I wish I could do marine biology with psychology when I studied in college. So the fact is that you're not going to get boxed into sciences, commerce, humanities. Like in India, some colleges still focus on only these three main streams, and you can't really do an interdisciplinary approach between them. So the US allows you this flexibility. Nobody really kind of forces you to know exactly what you want to do in the first year of college. You are allowed to explore and choose different majors. Maybe you have one major you want to study, and then you have smaller subjects, which could be your minor or your elective that you actually choose. So it's a great exploration time. It's a great time to, grow professionally and academically. Of course, the US is at cutting edge of technology and research infrastructure. This will also define your shortlist. And I'll give you an example of a real student. One of our students, he came to us and he was very, very sure that he wanted to do undergraduate research from day one. So usually research, like Mushfiq mentioned, happens at the master's and PhD level. Now, you do not have to wait for the master's PhD with the US, because you can start right at your undergrad level. Now, this kid also was very sure that he wanted to do research. So he decided he wanted to apply to a smaller institution, okay, a liberal arts and sciences college. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, okay. This sort of institution gave him that exposure, that intimate sort of a setting with your professors, with your classmates. And you won't believe it, 4 years of his bachelor's, he did hardcore research. And he went to do his PhD at MIT straight after his bachelor's. Okay, and this is a real example. So my point is not that, okay, it's easy to get into a PhD into MIT after you've done this. That might not be true for every student. It's not that easy. But I'm just saying that defined what his experience was. So think a little bit about what is it that you want out of this educational experience. It is going to be home away from home for 4 years. You must at least be very, comfortable, happy with the environment that you're going into. Maybe you're not somebody who likes to be a big fish in a small pond or a small fish in a big pond. You want to see where you thrive. Like some students like to know their other colleagues, their peers, their classmates, their professors. I remember Mushfiq and I have actually been to universities together. And one of the universities that we've been to is Michigan State University, which is a massive college. It has around 50,000 students on campus. And I've also been to smaller institutions, say, for example, Goucher College in Maryland, which is around 4,500 college students. So you see how big or small a campus can be depending on the number of students on campus. So you want to see how do you want to kind of fit in, okay? US universities, of course, give you opportunities for internships, for professional training, and also scholarships. Now, this is also going to define your shortlist greatly. If funding is a big factor for you, definitely look at schools that offer international students funding. Many a times we get confused with funding for domestic students, and we feel that, oh, this much amount is for all students. That's not true. Look at the amount for international students. Okay, what are the opportunities for international students? How strong is the career services at that university? Do they do job fairs for people in my department? Okay, STEM majors usually have job fairs. But does an economics major also get to have as many job fairs as maybe an engineering student? What kind of companies come for these job fairs? Things like that. So be curious about the schools that you're going to go to. Okay. Of course, I mean, this is just one example, and this is Michigan State University. They are going to have facilities. Now, this also will define your shortlist. Why? Because I had a student who she was one of the youngest mountaineers in India to have scaled the Mount Everest. Okay, so she wanted to do chemical engineering, but she also wanted to compete at a university level in mountaineering. So when we were looking at universities for her, we were also looking obviously at chemical engineering, but I was also looking at universities which had an active mountaineering team. Therefore, that defines her shortlist, right? So are some things important to you? Do you want to learn French when you're there? Do you want to learn skateboarding? So ask yourself those things. It's not just studies for 4 years, it's also going to be other development. So think about that. Okay, of course, you're going to go with, like Mushfiq mentioned, that you're going to meet people from all over the world. I wouldn't probably have met another Bangladeshi advisor or somebody from Bangladesh if it hadn't been for Education USA, which works with US universities. So like this, you're going to meet people for the very first time from different parts of the world, and you're going to be part of an awesome, robust alumni network. Alumni networks do come handy, especially when you're looking for jobs and opportunities later on. And it's a great idea to check with the university. Do they have the alumni chapter in Bangladesh? Maybe you can connect with professionals right now. How active is the alumni chapter? What kind of help or services do they offer for prospective or current students? And this is another way to understand which colleges you want to get into. Mushfiq, am I okay on time? Just let me know if I'm going over.
You're great. Go ahead. You're great.
All right. Now, another thing to remember. Now, Mushfiq spoke about best fit. I speak about right fit, good fit. And it is irritating for students and parents sometimes to understand what is this best fit. It's this mysterious person, creature, thing, right? It is mysterious. And we at Education USA try to help you understand and solve those mysteries, right? So what all are we going to ask the university? What all information do I require to actually make a decision on which universities are going to be a good fit for me? Now, a few things to remember, students, is that US universities are looking at a holistic admissions review. So Mushfiq mentioned 8 things that you will put into your application box. All of those things are going to be assessed equally. Okay, so it's not that the SAT is higher than the essay or the LOR is better than the resume. It's all put together. When the admissions office is looking at your application, they're looking at all the things together. And mostly they're also looking at if this student is a good fit for my university. Okay, think about this. The US is the #1 destination for studies, education abroad, in the whole world. Okay, so there's no dearth of students coming in from other countries. They're not looking to fill classrooms with people, fill them up. They're looking to build a classroom. So they'll see a student that, okay, yes, this student, wow, they've done this. Let's take them on. Oh, this girl has done this. Okay, great. Let's build this classroom, right? So you also have to understand, are you a good fit for the universities? What are they looking for? Okay, the right match would be, what do I have to offer? Okay, in terms of my strengths, qualities, skills, etc. And what does a university have to offer? What opportunities do they have on campus? What kind of research? What academics? And what they offer and what you want, is that a good match? Okay, so if I want to do psychology and I want to get into abnormal psychology, this university that I'm applying to is great for psychology, but there's no research happening in abnormal psychology in particular. Is that a good university for me? Maybe not. Okay, second, I'll give you an example. One of our students, he was not our student before this whole thing happened, but he applied to University of California, Berkeley. Now, Berkeley, we know, is a very, very selective school. He got in, which was an awesome, feat, but he required 80% funding. Okay. Now, Berkeley is a public university. University of California, Berkeley is a public school. They already have subsidized their tuition greatly because public universities already do that, okay? They do not give a very high amount of scholarship because their tuition is already subsidized, okay? So what happens is Berkeley doesn't give more than $12,000 per year. Maximum they'll give is $20,000 per year. So is that a good fit for that student? It wasn't. And he could not go. Imagine getting into UC Berkeley and not having to go. How disappointing. That's when he heard of Education USA. He came to us. We obviously had to take a gap year that year. He did amazing internship. He made a video essay on drumming, and then he reapplied. And this time we looked at universities which gave considerable amount of funding to international students. He went to Vanderbilt finally, students with 104% funding. Okay, they even gave him a laptop. So, and paid for his flight ticket. That's how strong his application was, and the fact that that university had that sort of funding. So remember, public and private differ on funding. Private universities tend to be more expensive. but they have more money, moolah, to give you as scholarships or funding. Okay. Public universities, tuition is already subsidized. Therefore, they might not give you too many scholarships and the award might not be very high. That doesn't mean that don't give scholarships. Still, so my point here is diversify your shortlist. Don't get stuck applying only to Ivies. Don't get stuck applying only to private or only to public because you think that this is how it should be. Have a mix of universities on your list. Okay, maybe 2 or 3 public universities because they're good for this. Private because this. Liberal arts and sciences college because of this. Moving on to a liberal arts and sciences college. What does that mean? The notion is that maybe you can't study computer science, engineering at a liberal arts and sciences college, but that's untrue. The student that I was talking about, he went to Olin College of Engineering, which is a liberal arts and sciences college focused on STEM subjects, right? So liberal arts and sciences are smaller universities. They're mostly private and they're smaller classroom sizes. The choice that you have in terms of doing subjects is also sometimes a little bit more flexible. And liberal arts philosophy is actually a very old European philosophy, which tells you that students should not just study one subject, they should study the subject in respect to other aspects as well. So you might be studying world history. You might be studying a little bit of math sometimes at a liberal arts and sciences college if you want to, along with your major subject, because you want to get information about a global perspective of things. Okay. Therefore, a liberal arts and sciences college is a great fit for some students. Okay. Is it a good fit for you? You must ask the university, check the university's website. You also have community colleges, and I'm not sure how many students from Bangladesh go for community colleges, but in India, it's becoming an increasing sort of a trend where students do inquire. So you go for something called the associate degree, which is a 2-year program after class 12, after you finish your high school. And then you can transfer to a 3rd and 4th year at a larger university. And then your degree is from the larger university. Okay, so for example, if I go to Foothill College in California, I can transfer to California State University for 3rd and 4th year, and my degree will be from California State University. Okay, so that's community colleges. Why do students do this? It's cheaper. Community colleges offer very affordable education for 2 years, so you save up on those 2 years of money that you will spend on college. Some students go for specialized institutions. You have to ask yourself, do I want to study only music, only performing arts, only dance, drama, acting? Or do I also want to study acting and maybe law or acting and something else? If you want to do that, see if your specialized institution allows you options to study other subjects. If it doesn't, maybe a larger public or a private university or a liberal arts and sciences college might be a better fit for you. Therefore, knowing that there are different kinds of institutions in the US is very, very important when you're shortlisting. Okay. And then you obviously have different degrees. Some of you are going to go maybe for associate degree. Most of you will go for your bachelor's. Some of you might go for a master's or a PhD later. And that will also determine which schools you go to. Okay. So just a few things about the US. It is diverse. Okay. As we all heard, it's diverse. Location is going to be very, very important, not just because it's going to be hot or cold. Okay. That's something that I think students kind of get used to, but also because of industry. Okay, so maybe in South Dakota, and you want to do a bachelor's in, say, oil and mining, right? Now, there are only a few states in the US which have industry around those areas because the mines are only in those states, right? Or you want to do computer science, then Washington State becomes very, very, interesting. California becomes interesting. Texas becomes interesting. Maybe you want to do banking and economics. Then the East Coast is a very good place because a lot of industry, banks, etc., are located on that side. So knowing a little bit about what kind of industry business is there in the state will also help you to understand what kind of companies or industries are there for you to maybe do your 20 hours of your practical training opportunity when you're on campus. Also, location will help you to understand how expensive your education is going to be. If you're going to find a college in New York or California, it is going to be expensive. These are expensive cities. Just like in our countries, we also have our capitals, which are usually expensive. If you go to a smaller town, it's not that expensive. Same for the US. Okay. So it's also going to determine your cost of attendance, right? And therefore choose really, really well. Now, a few other things that I want to talk about are accreditation. We encourage students to apply to recognized schools. Please make sure that your university and your program is accredited. Okay. How do you know? We'll give you websites for that. Okay. But it'll help you with your job prospects and other, future education if you go to an accredited institution. Okay. Acceptance rate and testing. And I'll talk a little bit about this in the next few slides, but this will also give you an indicator as to how selective is the school, how competitive is it. A lot of students come to us and say, ma'am, can I get into MIT? What's the process? And I'll be like, okay, so let's talk about MIT. Why MIT? Or what do you want to study at MIT? Right? And then the answers start coming. So I'm fascinated by MIT, right? Harvard, Yale, Stanford, Princeton, and others. But do I really know what actually the university is all about? One of my students, and this was my very first year at Education USA, and I was shocked. She told me that she's a very good fit at Yale University, but not a good fit at Harvard. And I was like, how does she know? I mean, if I was a student, I'd be happy to go to any of them, right? But she actually had done her research that well that she was able to say, nay, Harvard is not good for me, Yale is, right? So you should also dig in deeper and see if the university is a good fit for you. Now, acceptance rate, why is it important? Why did I say Harvard, Stanford, MIT? Now, the acceptance rate of these schools are pretty low. So you have 6%, 10%. That means for every 100 students, 10 are getting it, 6 are getting it, right? That's tough to get it, okay? So it's not like we're discouraging you from applying to these schools, but we're telling you to be realistic, okay? And we'll talk a little bit about that. And we'll talk about testing in a few other slides. I want to explain a few things to you. Deadlines are going to be very important, okay? So I want to do this. I want to apply to 20 schools. Yes, you can apply to 20 schools. But do you know that some of them will have supplementary essays? And the more schools that you keep adding, the more selective IVs that you keep adding, you'll have to probably write more supplementary essays. Do you have time? If you're in school, I tell students, the undergrad students, high school students, that y'all are some of the busiest people, getting students to come for appointments, because you have so many things going on. There's pressure of school, there's classes, there's extracurricular activities. So you also want to see that, do you have time to make this application? Okay. Some universities have an early deadline, okay, where, the deadline might be at least a month before the regular one. And then there's regular deadline as well. If you're applying early, are you prepared? You don't want to apply early and still have not a very strong application. Then applying early doesn't make sense. Okay. So look at the deadlines and see if you require scholarships. If funding is a big factor for you, some universities have an earlier deadline for scholarships, very few, but there might be. Okay. And do they ask you for an extra essay for a scholarship? Then that also goes into your things to do. Okay. Faculty profile might be an important factor for some of you. Okay. Especially if you want to do research. Like I have students who actually write and say, oh, this professor is teaching at that college, and I've read their book and I want to study, in that university. That could be a reason for you, maybe not for the others. A few other things, cost of attendance we spoke about, funding we spoke about. So choose universities carefully. Support services is going to be very important, right? You're going to be away from home. What kind of support services are there on campus? If you're in trouble, if you're facing some challenges, who can you go to? How approachable is the university? Do they have different clubs? Maybe you feel a little at home with joining maybe few clubs which are from, of origin of Bangladeshi students, right? Maybe there's a Bangladesh sort of a club or an activity that happens on campus. Even though you want to make friends from everywhere else, maybe having that one club which kind of connects you with home is a good idea, right? So ask the university all these questions. The quantitative factors that I was talking about, acceptance rate and selectivity, don't get confused by the numbers, but things to remember really are this, okay? When you're categorizing your list, have a good mix of universities. We spoke about diversifying. So have 2 or 3 dream schools on your list, okay? You're giving it a best shot, might as well, okay? If you feel you have a fighting chance, go for it. Now, if you are giving the test and say the university has given you a mean SAT or mean ACT score, that means that's the average of what the students who get into the university have. Say the mean SAT score at a university is 1300, okay? Or the mean SAT score at a university is 32 out of 36 for ACT. Where do you lie? Okay, that will also kind of give you an idea as to, okay, my ACT score is way lower than the mean. That means that this university could be a little dream for me. Okay, and the acceptance rate is also low. Therefore, it's definitely a dream school for me. So these sort of the acceptance rate, the mean SAT, ACT might help you to understand how to also categorize this list. Let me tell you a few other things. There is no formula, there's no cutoff for US universities like this. In India, we focus a lot on marks, and that's how a lot of students get into colleges. 95% is a cutoff, 80% is a cutoff. ESA, there's nothing like this in the US. Okay. So when I'm telling you acceptance rate and I'm telling you mean SAT, ACT, you cannot swear by it. Like, it's not absolute. These are, again, indicators just like rankings, but this will give you an idea as to where you stand. Okay, so don't go hunting for this information. And we all know, Mushfiq mentioned that during the pandemic, a lot of universities have gone test optional. That means they don't probably require the test, or they're leaving it to you to submit the test score. So if you have a good test score, maybe you want to apply, send it to the university. So if you don't have it, it's okay. There are other ways to know how to categorize this list: the acceptance rate, the quality, the other things, how selective the school is. Have 3 or 4 schools, 3 to 5 universities, which are absolutely your reach or match schools where you have a strong chance of getting in. Okay. And maybe 2 or 3 safe. So at least if nothing works out, you have these to fall back on. So don't put all your eggs in one basket unless you're very sure that if I don't get into Stanford, MIT, Harvard, I will not go to the US. That's okay. But if you want to have a good quality education, maybe look for even good scholarships. Diversify, because there are so many universities in the US that are looking for quality international students. And I think being close-minded is one of the biggest mistakes that students make when they're shortlisting. That I don't want to even talk about this university. I've never heard of them. Okay. I was like this when I was in college, like way younger, right? But you realize that that's not the right way to do it. Okay. And with that, take a screenshot of this slide if you can. We can also send it to you. This is a bunch of resources that we've put together for students to shortlist universities. Okay, they all give you a little bit of information. Have an Excel sheet. If you're the types like me with a planner or a notepad, have that. Okay, ready to kind of make your notes about every university. Write one good thing about the school that you really like, or write one thing that you don't like. So when you're shortlisting tomorrow, day after, months down the road, you have information. Otherwise, you have to keep going back to websites to refer to information. Okay, that's a waste of your time as well. So I'll share this bunch with Mushfiq sir, and he'll, we can share it with all of you. And with that, we are going to talk to you a little bit about the fair. We have a very, very exciting fair that's coming up. And all our friends and colleagues from Nepal, Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan are coming together. So that's a lot of advisors and hopefully a lot of students as well to meet with 100 universities. Okay, so we are already at capacity. 100 universities have signed up and they're waiting to meet you. So some of the questions, some of the things that we discussed today, ask them, So how much scholarship did you give last year to a student? Or what are the kinds of subjects that are really popular? My profile is like this. Do you think I'm a good fit for your university? Have that conversation. Okay, so you can scan this QR code or and join us. It's on September 3rd. Okay, so mark your calendars. It'd be great to. In fact, last year I was at the help desk for the fair and I met so many Bangladeshi students, and I look forward to having more conversations with all of you. Okay, and with that, I'm going to hand it over to Mushfiq sir as well. Mushfiq, if you want to just say anything about comments, and then we can open it to Q&A.
Aastha, yeah, I'm still mesmerized. Oh my God, what an amazing session it was. I was like, oh God, this is a learning opportunity for me too. I mean, this is amazing.
You're just being too kind and generous.
When you hear it from an advisor, from an expert. Thank you so much. I'm sure all the Bangladeshi students are very much grateful that you came and joined this session, and they are very much happy that you came here. And students who have attended this session, I'm sure you. I've already seen I was checking the chat box, and they were already saying that amazing words, amazing session, and I'm sure they'll love it. And the organizers are saying, "Bhaiya, can we have the slides?" And we love listening to her. You totally stole my thunder. Thank you so much.
That was the aim, Mushfiq.
Oh my God, such a reach.
We're always each other's leg. I'm so thankful for you to invite me. I'm just, we love interacting with students. Mushfiq and I, we talk about this. We do a lot of, fun at the back. But I think the one thing that we really have in common is the fact that we interact and love interacting with students, right? So thank you so much for having us. I'm really like I'm all kicked. I can do another half an hour session.
Thank you, thank you. I mean, just to let you know, guys, Asta and me, we've been working together for a long, long time. And like she mentioned, this is the specialty of Education USA, that we keep connected. We keep attached so that we can share resources, we can share our experiences. And India and Bangladesh are very much alike of this market, undergrad market, grad market. And so we enjoy a lot to talk to students, because being an advisor, that's your job. And I was lucky to visit Aastha's office in Delhi. When I was visiting Delhi for a conference, I went there, and we are expecting that Aastha will someday soon come to Bangladesh, and we'll do something physically. And so our friendship really grew stronger when we were doing a level 2 advisor training in Washington, D.C. and Michigan at 2019. And that's the place where we got to know each other, and we got to know our crazy part, and we became connected immediately. and we became friends that, we are too crazy not to be with each other. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much. Advisor, organizer, do we have any questions to address, or we finish this session here?
Someone wants the session's PDF, Mushfiq. Can we share?
So I believe I'm okay to share my PowerPoint. Are you, Aastha? So
Yeah.
So we will send it to the organizer, and they will take care of it. We are happy that you listen to it and you think that it's worth keeping in your collection to follow it later. So we will follow it. Otherwise, I think our session, both the requirement and university, was self-explanatory. Actually, it's not very complicated. So thank you so much for joining us. Since we are virtual, we became virtual from March 2020. So most of our sessions are online. You can just go to EducationUSA Bangladesh Facebook page or EducationUSA India Facebook page, and you'll be able to see in the event section we put all of our events, and those all are designed for you. And the most important and most fascinating thing about our sessions are they are completely free. So please enjoy this session. And like Aastha mentioned about the fair, we are so excited because I think within 1 or 2 or 3 days, all the 100 slots of undergrad universities were filled up. I mean, they are as excited as we are. They cannot wait.
They can't wait.
Even last year after the fair, they could complaining that, oh my God, there are so many students. So we were a bit scared this time that, oh my God, are they gonna join this fair? But like we said, within 1 or 2 days, all the slots were fulfilled, and they are looking forward to join you guys. So please do register. There will be registration link and everything given in our Facebook pages and different platforms. You'll be able to get to know about all of the registration things. The most important thing is that you can see all the institution together. You can do your research ahead, that which institution you're going to talk to, and do your question list ready ahead, so that when you at the platform, you are not taken by surprise. You know what to do. You know what are your actions are, because this is an opportunity for you, that you get to meet so many institutions together, and you need to make proper use of it. Anything from you, Aastha?
Yes, I wanted to just add, students. In fact, Mushfiq is actually doing quite a few sessions leading up to the fair, where we're going to be discussing, how students can make use of the fair. So please do that. And Mushfiq has been praising me, and thank you so much, Mushfiq. But I have to tell all of you, you are in great hands. Okay, he is an awesome advisor and even better human being. He's one of the nicest people I have met at the network, and the funniest. I mean, if I have to give it to the best comedian, I would give it to Mushfiq. This guy can not make you stop laughing. Like if you're with him, you're only laughing, and you get caught for that. You get sometimes called up and saying, "Aastha, can you please stop laughing?" And this guy will be like, I have not done anything, so that's Mushfiq for you. Okay, naughty but awesome. So I
Thank
am
you.
happy to be here. Mushfiq, if you want me to join the cohort, I'm here for some time.
Sure, I will let you know. But I think this live session is ending here. So thank you so much again. Stay safe. No matter how much fun we are making online, you need to remember pandemic is still around you. So you need to be safe. You need to stay home. You need to take care of your family. And we are happy that students are still serious about their higher study destination and working hard. So thank you so much and goodbye.
Thank you.
See you
Yeah.
again.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Good luck, everyone.